Good evening. Welcome to My Naked Truth. I'm your host, Gypsy, and today our guest is David.
Hi, I'm David.
So David, where are you from? What part of the world?
I was born in Canada, but I now live in the United States in Berkeley.
How do you like it in the United States?
I don't know there's too much difference between United States and Canada. But when I first came over, I came to Hawaii and it was a lot more laid back. So I really noticed the difference between that. But then when I came to the mainstream, or the mainland of the US, I didn't really notice the difference. But I was already kind of used to the US, so it's not like I noticed a big difference or anything.
Okay, and let's see, are you going to stay here, you think?
Either here or move to Mexico or some other country. I don't really plan on living here for the rest of my life or anything.
Okay, so I take it you have this blog.
Oh.
You have this blog called My Loving God or something like that?
The Loving God.
The Loving God?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about your experiences with organized religion and spirituality? Just tell me your evolution as a...
So originally, my parents were kind of atheists. They didn't really believe in anything. They didn't really care too much.
Speak up.
But my aunt, she was really hardcore Christian, and so she would take us to church. And my
Is
parents,
that Aunt Rose?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my parents were fine with it because, they basically let us choose. It's if we wanted to go, that's fine. If we don't want to go, we don't have to. So we were like, okay, sure, we'll go, see what it's like. And we went, and it was okay, so we went a bunch. So we learned about Christianity from that.
What did you think of what you heard in churches?
Well, I went to Sunday school. Nothing I heard there really, didn't notice too much about it. One thing I kind of noticed that I didn't like in the sermons I found were pretty boring. I didn't really get into them at all. There was one thing, one time the priest was talking about New Age religions. And he was saying how they're horrible, evil. They may sound good, but they're horrible, evil, they're of the devil and stuff. But he never actually said anything that they're doing wrong.
How old were you?
By then I was probably a teenager.
So you were a teenager and you noticed that was...
Yeah, it's he's telling how horrible they are. It's demonizing them, but wasn't specifying anything that's actually wrong. So if you think for yourself, it's he's not giving you something to think about. This is wrong, they're doing this, therefore what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
It's he's saying, oh, they're wrong and horrible, but he's not actually giving you anything to think about.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I noticed. I'm kind of not Christian anymore, but I still believe in God.
How did your beliefs change?
Well, you actually introduced me to Lazarus, and
yeah. You were in your early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s. And I started listening to what
What's Lazarus? Can you explain to people what it is?
Lazarus is a channeled entity, and I don't know what else to say about him. So I started listening to what he had to say, and the things he had to say were flew totally in the face of everything I'd ever learned or been taught or been told in my life. Said things like the reality is an illusion and
yeah.
Belief creates reality. And I was pretty skeptical at first. I was like, what? This is an illusion? Are you crazy? It's this is... But it's I was kind of open-minded. It's okay, I'll think about it. It's is there something to this? Well, it's I started thinking about it. It's let's see. So if belief creates reality, could this possibly work? It's and then this would be an illusion. It's so is that possible? It's this is basically an alternative perspective on reality. It's does it have any plausibility or does it just fall apart? So if belief creates reality, let's say, if you drop a ball, it's we think that the ball falls because there's gravity. It's this perfect law and it'll always fall. But it's if belief creates reality, then the ball falls because you have the belief that it will. And it's the belief that makes the ball fall when you let go of it. So it's well, that could be, it would create the appearance of everything working exactly the way we're used to it, but the fundamental laws of reality aren't actually what we think they are. We think the fundamental law of reality is gravity, but it's actually belief is creating the reality, is creating the gravity. And
What made you convinced
what convinced me
that
of that?
that was true for you?
One thing, like after hearing about this, I went back to the Bible and I read the chapters by Jesus, and one of the things I noticed is like every time, like in each of the spots where he healed someone, so like someone like they totally believed that if they just touch Jesus, they'll be healed, and they push their way through this crowd of people and they touch Jesus, they're instantly healed. And every single time, except one time, there was like half his disciples said one thing, half the others said something else, but every single time he said, your belief has healed you. And one time, two of his disciples said that he said, your belief has healed you, and two of them said that I have healed you. It's like every time he healed someone, or they got healed like that, he said, your belief has healed you. And if like belief creates reality, then it's like if you truly believe that touching it would heal you, you'd be instantly healed, because that's what belief would do.
What about the techniques that Lazarus gives you in the meditations and the techniques that you do they actually work?
I totally notice a difference. I don't do them as much as I should, and I don't notice them as much as I would like to, but I totally find that my life kind of falls apart when I'm not doing them. Kind of like, yeah.
Well, how did your beliefs about Christianity, where do you stand today? How do you feel about organized Christianity?
Oh, I'm against organized religion.
Why?
I can't think of right now. I'm against the idea of telling people what to think. I totally think people should think for themselves. Make up.
Why is it that, what would you call yourself?
I'm not exactly just against Christianity. I'm against like all kinds of different fundamentalisms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I often go on religious debate sites and debate with them. Like there's like these religious debate sites and there's like Christians and atheists all going at it. And then like I get there in the middle and I fight against the atheists and the Christians.
What kinds of things do you fight against? What kind of statements? What do you say?
Well, like the atheists, like there's a bunch of things that Christians believe that like atheists like really disagree with. And it's like there's like certain things that are kind of like...
Such as?
I can't think of anything right now. But like...
Give us an example of what debates you had. Over what?
I can't think of anything right now. I had some pretty heated debates though. One of them that I debated a lot was like, how can anything undetectable be known to exist? This is pretty much like the atheists basically trying to say, it's like, hey, God doesn't exist because we can't
Measure
prove him. Yeah, you can't measure him and stuff. And so like I debate with them about like I agree with them on a lot of things, but it's like they say God doesn't exist, and it's like, hey, I disagree with that. So like I always debate that with them. And so one of the things, I don't remember the exact conversation, but like the general area of where it went, the conversation was like, in a different thread, I was talking about how like, or someone mentioned something about dark matter, and how we can't detect it, but we know that it exists because of the impact that it has. Like, there's a measurable impact. Something is causing this to happen, but we can't detect it. So it's like, that was kind of like the foothold that I used in this argument. It's like, how can something undetectable be known to exist? Well, dark matter, we know that it exists, even though it is undetectable, because it is causing something to happen that is detectable. And so my argument was like, we can know that God exists because of the impact that he has. And I made up this big long article that was like the atheists, they're pretty tough to debate against.
Why?
They got some like there's guys on there who've been like beating it out with like Christians for like the last 10 years.
But that's with Christians.
Yeah. And so they're pretty tough. Like, so I came up with this article. It's like one of my points was like based upon their worldview, like love can't really exist
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so instead of directly saying that, because then they're going to say, well, then love doesn't exist. If we have to deny love to deny God, then we're going to deny love.
That's what they say.
Well, that's what they were going to do. So instead of saying that love is proof of God, it's like I agreed with them. I was like, yeah, you're right. Cold, dead mass. Cold, dead mass. And the chemical reactions it produces can explain everything. My point being, no, it doesn't explain everything. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're just, because like they talk about evolution. Like Christians have creationism, they combat it with evolutionism and abiogenesis. So I'm like, yeah, you're just this flesh robot. You're just like a bunch of atoms that collided into each other and made this thing that's alive by chemical reactions.
That's how a lot of people, that's what a lot of people
that's
do.
pretty much what their paradigm is. So it's like, yeah, you're right. You're just a freaking piece of meat robot.
I had a conversation.
You're right.
I had a similar conversation with interviewing Free Speech Coalition, two people from it, and one of them was Christian and one was an atheist, and we were having this debate in the elevator after the interview. And I was telling him, so he was saying, does God exist? Well, do you have any proof? I said, does love exist? And he says, yeah. And I was like, do you have any proof? And she really liked my answer because she was a Christian. I don't know, she was not a strict Christian, obviously. He was a Free Speech Coalition defends the porn industry, so she couldn't be like the most conservative Christian. She's not, but yeah, that was my point. You have this blog, or what was it, a website called
The Loving God.
How about the Homoromantic God?
I was thinking of making that. I never actually made it. I made a MySpace profile like
Called
that.
Homoromantic God?
Yeah.
So what was that all about?
Well, like, before I created the Loving God forum, like, I basically went on to, like, Yahoo Answers, and I was, like, talking with people, and, like, I kind of noticed, like, I was raised Christian, I was told, like, God is love and stuff, and then I went on this forum, and it's, like, there's a lot of people, it's, like, on one hand, Christianity preaches that God is love, and God is loving and all that stuff, and then on the other hand, it's, like, I go on these forums, and it's, like, no Christians really realize that God is loving. It's like
Some of them might, but
yes, a lot of them don't. Like they're told that they pay lip service to it. But then on the one hand, they believe that God's actually going to torture them in hell for eternity if they don't live according to some doctrine or some rules in a book. And it's like torturing people in hell for eternity is not loving.
Yeah.
And it's like these two things they can't coexist. You can't truly have a loving God and have a God that's going to torture people in hell.
Yeah, it can't be the same God anyways.
Yeah, it can't be the same guy. So it's like I really noticed that like a lot of like so many of them hold this so strongly, and it's like they pay lip service to this, they say it, but it's like you can't really believe it.
Yeah.
And believe this. They can't coexist. So it's like I created my Loving God website to basically like really promote the idea. It's like God is loving.
No, okay. That's good.
No,
I was
God
asking
is loving.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. That was good. That's a good idea. Now, the homoromantic God was like, you pretty much, I really like that, whatever you had on your profile. It was a lot of humorous stuff about God being gay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what does it say there? What did you have to say there?
I don't remember. One of the things I noticed on the Yahoo Answers forum was like, I came up with some like, really funny stuff that like kind of to piss people off, really get emotional reactions. And I posted it like in the gay forum and in the religious forum. And like in the gay forum, I got all the most like hardcore fundamentalist, hate-mongering Christians. And in the regular religious forum, I just got okay moderates, really cool, open-minded ones. And
Really?
it's like, so it's like all the really like the worst ones would go to the gay forum to bash people basically.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
That's really sad.
that's really not like, that's really not the doctrine that Christ taught. To like, go and look for the weakest people and freaking go and beat them up basically. So like.
And beat them up over what? Because they love someone of the same sex.
Yeah. So it's like, I kind of came up with that to kind of like, as like, to kind of basically stand up for them.
That's good.
And so it's like.
Did you get any positive reaction, people liking your blog and stuff?
Yeah, the gay guys, they probably, like, I was, like, sending out friend requests to people, and so what I did is I had a program, and it would do a search for a keyword that I put in, and then add those people, send a friend request. So I told it to search for people with gay and love in their profile, and add them all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a lot of people who apparently didn't know that they necessarily had that in their profile. I got one guy, he was like, and like it kind of knocked on Christianity quite a bit, because the fact that they like put these people down, and I'm totally against that.
Do you consider yourself bisexual?
No.
No?
No.
So you only like women?
Yeah.
What about men?
Not sexually.
Have you ever felt attracted to a man?
Not really sexually.
No?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do this because I'm gay or anything.
Well, I'm not saying you did it because you're gay,
yeah.
but I'm asking.
Yeah, it's pretty much to stand up for other people.
Right.
And one really cool response I got once, like, some guy was like, "Oh, you think we're intolerant? What about you? You're shoving your lifestyle on me." And I'm like, I sent him a private message back, I'm like, my lifestyle? I'm single, or I'm married with 3 kids.
And he said, "Nice smoke screen," didn't he?
And it's like...
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything because someone's married.
Yeah. But it's like, he thought like, I'm trying to shove gayness on him, and it's like, well, this has nothing to do with him. And it's like, by the end of the conversation, he basically realized it's like, this is like a lot closer to what Christianity is about than like, or what Christ taught than what he's necessarily preaching.
Well, that's nice. Let me ask you some other questions. Do you want to talk about politics or what other subjects? Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about psychedelics. Mm-hmm. When I met you, you said you would never do drugs. So
Probably
how did...
I don't remember.
What is it?
Probably I don't remember.
So what happened?
You got me to do them.
What was your first experience? What did you try first?
We tried LSD first. I don't remember too much about it. I kind of remember like, it's kind of like, something kind of like woke up inside of me.
Where was this?
This was, I believe we were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like something woke up inside of me. Like, and it's hard to explain what it was. And it's like, you know, like, people talk about like the afterlife.
Yeah.
And it's like there's something beyond this, and it's like, part of the experience is like, there's almost like a veil between this, and then there's something else beyond.
Yeah.
And it's like an invisible veil, and it's like pushing up against it and knowing that there's this veil and there's something else beyond, but not knowing what it is, but now knowing that there's something else beyond this.
That's what you learned from your first LSD experience.
Yeah.
What was your most powerful? What other psychedelics have you done?
LSD, mushrooms, salvia,
Ecstasy.
ecstasy.
What did you learn from these experiences?
I've learned that this isn't what I thought it was. Like my first experience, like nothing, religion never taught me about this, science never taught me about this, school never taught me about this, my parents never taught me about this. I was never prepared for that, for what I would experience, and it's like that kind of like really realized me the limitation of all of those. It's like I thought I knew everything about what life is and everything, and then it's like this showed me, it's like, hey wait, there's actually more to it than what any of them taught me.
How did it change you as a person? Did it help you become a happier person? Did it help you become more free?
Probably I can't necessarily say that though. It definitely changed, definitely opened up my perception of the world, and it definitely helped me liberate from what all the different things, everything I was taught. It's like, showed me that there's more to it than what they're telling me.
So, as far as other spiritual experience, would you consider consumption of psychedelics spiritual?
Oh yes, that's one of the most spiritual things I've ever done in my life.
What kind of things did you learn? What are the spiritual things that... How did it help you become more spiritual?
Like what are the things that I learned on my trips?
Yeah. How did it change your spiritual perspective?
One thing I was like Lazarus, he talks about God, but I for a while there, I trusted his opinion, but it's like I never really had an experience of God myself. And then in 2002, I went to Burning Man, and I took LSD and possibly some other substances.
I think ecstasy, maybe.
Yeah.
That's all.
And
or did you take anything else? Did someone else give you something else?
No.
Okay.
And, this was during the burn on the last day or whatever, and I went dancing into the crowd, and I threw my clothes in the fire. I went dancing through the crowd naked, and at one point I turned to some stranger, and I felt like all this love in my heart, and I just hugged him, and like all of existence pretty much just disappeared down to this like single pinpoint of light. And it was like absolute pure light, and it was like God, and it was like love. And like the title of my website, like The Loving God, and it's like for the title it's like God is love. That's one of the things I learned. It's like I learned from that experience, I learned that like there is a God, that God is loving, and that this is an illusion, because I totally saw this, all of existence just disappeared, and all that was left was God. And that lasted like a couple seconds, and then all of a sudden it just all poof, back into all this, and I danced off into the crowd. And
you also walked through fire.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
So like on psychedelics, like it's easier to go deeper when you have your eyes closed. So I was like dancing through the crowd, and I started to dance like I've seen how like Indians dance. Like I wanted to go deeper into dance, so it's like I'm like, why don't I dance like an Indian? You kind of dance like this.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of danced around the fire and like with my eyes closed through the crowd of people like that. And at one point I was like, I got a little scared, like, well, there's this humongous bonfire, and I'm kind of a little high, and I got my eyes closed, so I can't see where I'm going. I might accidentally go into that fire. So I got a little scared. It's like, I better open my eyes and take a look around. So I took a look around, and I was standing in the middle of the fire.
Wow. And you didn't feel anything?
It didn't feel anything until I got scared. And then it started to get a little hot. I was like, oh crap. And I jumped out of it as quick as I could. And I was like, wow.
Wasn't there a person who carried you through the fire?
That came later. So I was like, wow. Like, it didn't burn me. And like Lazarus talks about how like belief creates reality, and like it's just an illusion and stuff. And I was like thinking, it's like, wow, it's like the fire only burns us because we believe it does. It's like it doesn't have this intrinsic value of it will burn us. It's our fear, our belief that it will burn us that causes it to burn us.
Even in hypnosis, if they tell you that they'll touch you with a pen and tell you it's a cigarette, and you actually get burns in your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
Yeah. And so like...
So what about that man who carried you?
So I kept doing that. So after a while I closed my eyes, danced more. I ended up in the fire a couple more times. And then like, I was kind of like keeping my eyes on and kind of like, you know, because, you know, doing that is like, you know, it's pretty amazing, but it's like, you know, I'm still kind of like, you know, a little practical. I don't want to get burnt.
Right.
I don't want to just go into it and burn myself or something.
Yeah, I guess you weren't high enough.
Yeah. So it's like I was kind of staying out of it, and then this like person started like kind of circling, like I was going around in circles, and like they managed to stay in front of me, so like, and they're like, well, why don't you go in the fire? And I'm like, well, because I'm scared. And he's like, well, I'll take you, and so basically lifted me up.
He said, are you ready? Didn't he say that? That's how you told me
that.
last time.
I don't remember that.
So, and then what happened?
And then he pretty much carried me, and I kind of danced on his head for a little bit, and then he took me out again.
Wow.
And at one point, I like totally like someone was just lying on the ground, and I like stepped right through their stomach, and I could feel everything happening inside their stomach, happening inside my foot.
Wow. But you didn't kill that person, did you?
Probably not. I kept dancing, so I don't know.
Was that the guy who died from somebody stepping on him near the fire?
Died of mysterious causes.
Uh-oh. You just woke up with a ripped up stomach.
Yeah.
So we have like 2 minutes left. How about, what is your personal dream?
I really want there to be like water cars and stuff. I really want water cars.
Cars that run on water. They do exist. In Japan they make toys like that and sell them. And what is your dream for the planet?
I really like there to be peace. I really want the new age to flourish and like...
What does New Age mean to you?
To me, I don't know, kind of like the idea that like this is an illusion.
And? What else? Well, you listen to Lazarus a lot, so...
Yeah.
What else does it mean to you?
Well, it's really empowering. It's very empowering.
The fact that you create your own reality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's like it's one of the most empowering things I know.
Yeah. Have you seen it work for you?
A little bit.
Because Lazarus teaches that you create your own reality, 100%. Yeah, I find it very empowering. It does work for me, actually. And if the whole world could hear you right now, what would be your message to the world?
God is love. God is loving. God loves you. There is
Look
a God.
in the camera and say
Okay.
those things, please.
God is love. God is loving. And God loves you specifically. There is a God. I already said God is loving, so I don't really need to say it again. And this is an illusion.
That's great. Any closing statements?
Not really. The last thing kind of was. Good closing statement.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was a very nice interview.
Yeah.
Maybe see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.